Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's workshop. Uh, Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself and my colleague who are here to present this workshop. So my name, as you can see on the screen, is Vibha Kaushik, and I like to introduce myself as a academic, which means a little bit of everything. I am an active academic practitioner. I am also the Director of Research and Policy Development at Immigrant Services Calgary in Calgary. I am a registered social worker in Alberta and an adjunct faculty at University of Toronto and University of Calgary. In my primary role of Director of Research and Policy Development at Immigrant Services Calgary, I oversee the work of Newcomer Knowledge Hub, and that's what we are going to present today and share some information about the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. Ajwek, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Weber. My name's are Ajwan. I'm an associate professor in the Faculty of Social Work at University of Calgary. A social worker with extensive practice on issues to do with migration. And University of Calgary is partnering with Immigrant Services Calgary for this project that we're going to be presenting today. So thank you.
Thank you, Ajwek. So for this workshop, we will have approximately 1 hour to talk first about Newcomer Knowledge Hub vision and the overview of what we are doing and planning to do in the Newcomer Knowledge Hub, and about 15 to 20 minutes thereafter for question and answers. So let us start. The title of today's presentation is the Newcomer Knowledge Hub, a community of practitioners and academics to facilitate research-based settlement service solutions. So before we start, I would like to acknowledge that in the spirit of reconciliation, I take this opportunity to acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot and the people of the Treaty 7 regions in southern Alberta, which includes the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, and the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, including Chiniki, Bearspaw, and Goodstoney First Nation. The city of Calgary is also home to the people of Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So I'll also like to give you a very brief outline on what to expect in this workshop. So we will first offer you a brief overview of Immigrant Services Calgary, what we do, what we are as an organization, and gateway to present you the context of what Newcomer Knowledge Hub is about. So basically, ISC and Gateway will set up the context for the upcoming discussion about the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. And then we will start sharing the overview of Newcomer Knowledge Hub, the vision of it, and the work that we are currently doing and plan to do in the next 3 to 4 years in the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So let's begin, and I'll hand it over to Ajwan to talk a little bit about ISC and Gateway.
So Immigrant Services Calgary, or as we like to call it, ISC has been an integral part of the Calgary community for around 45 years and going stronger. The organization has been working to make a meaningful difference in the lives of newcomers as they choose Calgary to be their new home in Canada. Through our work, we ensure that newcomers, families, and individuals have the support that they need to successfully begin a new chapter of their lives in Canada. Our vision is to unleash the economic, social, and civic potential of our clients, and our mission is to connect newcomers to the right services at the right agency every time. With this vision and mission, in 2020, the ISC launched Gateway, which is one-of-a-kind transformational initiative in the sector. In the Gateway system, we continually innovate in our work, reimagining and transforming the newcomer experience to make it easier to connect with services and support in the way that's best for our clients. We work collaboratively with governments, with organizations, community members, and our fellow agencies to help immigrants and refugees build thriving lives in the Calgary community. And within the knowledge hub kind of like review, and before we start talking about Gateway, we'd like to show you a short, small video. And I would like to preface the video by saying that it was made at the start of the transformation. Some key members of our team have unfortunately or fortunately moved on, and some others hold more senior positions than the ones shown in this video. But the video actually captures the spirit of the transformation and the vision of Gateway very well. So here's the video.
Driven by community, by Calgarians, to ensure that Canada continues to be the best place in the world to live, work, and play. Right now, we are only seeing 30% of newcomers. Wouldn't that be great if Calgarians or Canadians, if we come up with a way to onboard new Canadians quicker, faster, so that they unleash their economic, social, and civic potential?
The problem that we're trying to solve with our Gateway Transformation project is to enable newcomers to get better quality and easier access to services that already exist. There's a huge gap between services that are available and their utilization by our newcomers. At the heart of the Gateway system is the creation of a standardized needs assessment and referral process for all newcomers that are coming to Calgary.
The Gateway project is a transformation not only to ISC but to the sector, in which we will become at ISC the single point of entry or access into the newcomer serving agency world in Calgary. So essentially what that means is we're currently developing a needs assessment, and we're standardizing that needs assessment to be able to provide that assessment across various locations in Calgary, so we're all following the same standard. But the aim of that is to really improve the coordination of services between agencies, so there's less replication of work, less duplication of efforts, increased efficiencies, and increased coordination. From the newcomer's perspective, they only have to tell their story once. Ultimately, it will reduce the number of hours that staff spend taking intake and doing that initial assessment, when ultimately the client may not even stay with that agency throughout the course of their newcomer journey.
Rather than being reactive as we're gathering data and information and understanding their stories a little bit better at the outset, we're better able to say, here's what we're seeing. Here are some of the trends. Here's what's coming across in the stories. And being able to create a model that not only sets up that initial assessment and referral, but one that follows them through as they start their life here in Canada. And we get a sense of how good of a job we're doing.
For newcomers that are coming to Canada, I will say this to you. You will succeed here. You will unleash your economic, social, and civic potential. If you have a family, they will be successful here. If you've got kids, they'll be the best version of themselves. That's a no-brainer. And the Gateway program will actually be the catalyst to help ensure that you get there faster.
So as Viva is getting the slide deck up, we just want to tell you a bit about Gateway. And the three areas that we're going to be focusing on is Gateway as a standardized system, Gateway as a client-centric model, but also Gateway as a harnessing of strengths within this field. So what is Gateway? At its core, Gateway is a standardized system for settlement planning for newcomers to Alberta, which includes client intake, the assessment of their needs, the needs that the clients might have at any given point in time, and the kind of assets and strengths that they bring with them to Canada. And these assessments are based on skip logic. Finally, a personalized plan is created based on the assessments, and these plans guide the referrals. The key here is that Gateway is a client-centric model, and we have discarded the one-size-fits-all approach. Throughout the assessment and referral processes, our planners focus on clients' individual journeys, their dreams, their goals, their achievements, and so on. So the Gateway system is built on Salesforce, which is our technological platform for Gateway. The benefit of Gateway is that it is a single point of entry system. Clients only have to tell their story once to a Gateway planner, and they do not have to report their story over and over again. And as we know, some of the stories might actually be traumatic in nature. So we're trying to reduce those repeat appointments as well, and the telling and retelling of their stories. Once the Gateway personalized plan is created for a client, they're directly connected to the right agency and the right service that they actually might need at that particular time. Now, you all must be thinking that isn't this a presentation about the Newcomer Knowledge Hub? And why am I talking about gateways? So let me kind of like come to that. As you may imagine, the gateway generates huge amounts of data, and that is where the Newcomer Knowledge Hub comes in. And sometimes we refer to the Newcomer Knowledge Hub as a K-Hub. So that is our terminology that we might also use interchangeably during this presentation. We acquire a huge volume of data from the clients, but we also have a huge amount that our referral partners offer to us so that we can make the most tailored referrals to each partner based on the unique needs of the clients that are identified in the skip logic-based needs assessment. And this is where we need the K-Hub. We'll talk about the K-Hub and what we do with the Gateway data shortly, but first, allow me to share some information about Gateway. So Gateway does transform the newcomer experience into a client-centric and coordinated system. And here on this slide, you will see what the traditional approach to settlement services was. At the sectoral level, the services were in the center and clients had to locate the services to get the benefits of those services. On the right, we have the Gateway strategy, which puts the client in the center. So we have the newcomers in the center, and then we have their personalized plan based on which the newcomers are referred to adequate and appropriate services and programs and other services. We track the referrals and client outcomes, we analyze them, and plan to feed the information back to the sector for continuous sector improvement and enhancements. So the Gateway strategy not only increases the coordination of all agencies, but it also increases the efficiency across the sector too. The Gateway focus is to unleash the potential that newcomers bring with them, and there is a lot of strengths-based model or approach that we use in this. An issue that was identified was that Calgary NPOs lacked coordination between NGOs during client intake assessments and subsequent referrals. Agencies stayed away from sharing their data and information amongst themselves, between themselves, with other agencies as well. The lack of coordination and the lack of data and information sharing created a lack of visibility for what services or programs were available out there and what services and programs newcomers should be seeking, and knowing that there were a lot of possibilities and a lot of programs as well that they would be able to access. So with Gateway, we're trying to get rid of that gap. And this makes Gateway a system that seamlessly connects clients to the best fit service provider. Here, we're looking at the Gateway system from a workflow perspective. We do not claim that we are perfect. We acknowledge that this is still work in progress, and for the very longest time, it will be work in progress because of the different elements that are presented in the different newcomer stories, but also as agencies shift and adapt to work with the needs of the clients. Our team is still focusing on refining the system. If we follow the diagram from the left, it starts from spreading awareness about Gateway and outreach. From there, the workflow moves to registration and then intake all the way to referrals to the best fit service provider. I'm not an expert on client services side in its all totality. So we'll kind of like leave the description of the workflow here. And just bring your attention to the right side of this diagram, which highlights the importance of data and something which we're really excited about. So the Gateway platform was conceived to emulate the client-centric approach to supporting newcomers' goals. Again, this is another view of the workflow from the client's perspective. A newcomer family or individual arrives looking for information or just guidance or even just support as they continue into their settlement journey or at the beginning of their settlement journeys. They get connected to the Gateway planner who creates a personalized plan for them and with them after obtaining their informed consent. Thereafter, they are referred to an agency. And again, there's informed consent in terms of them being referred to another agency that is best and which might be an expert in the type of services that they as a client might actually require at that particular time. It might be employment services, it could be family focused, it could be a food bank. So we deal, the personalized planner works with so many different elements. And during that assessment, together with the client, they're able to really identify what the needs of the client are at that particular moment. They can be referred to programs and services offered by Gateway partners. They can be programs and services offered by primary support services. They can be programs and services offered by agencies or organizations that are not actually part of our Gateway planners. So it's a wide range of partnership that we take into consideration or that we also work with. The whole referral process is managed through what we call a partner portal. So we can track the entire process, the client's progress, their outcomes, and also agency referrals and so forth as deemed necessary. And I also want to add that the entire process, client's privacy is already kept protected throughout this process. So I'll now hand over to Vibha, who will take us through the Knowledge Hub or the K-Hub. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Ajeng, for offering the great overview of Immigrant Services Calgary and Gateway system. Now let's move on to the second part of this presentation, which is talking about the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So the Gateway system has three components: people, process, and technology. Now, as we mentioned earlier, the entire system generates a large amount of data, and data means information. So through Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we are creating a repository of aggregated data and de-identified newcomer data, which we are using to produce knowledge and valuable information about the settlement journeys of the newcomers and their families. Through Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we intend to create information and knowledge that will hold value for researchers, educators, policymakers, funders, donors, investors, practitioners, and so on and so forth to improve the Gateway system so that we are able to better serve our newcomer clients. Now, to summarize, we can say that through Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we are trying to create a community of practitioners and academics. Our starting point for before we started working on Newcomer Knowledge Hub, our first step was to define what Newcomer Knowledge Hub would mean. And our starting point was Gokul Singh's definition for Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So we use this definition, a platform to share knowledge, capabilities, and data, solve problems through networking, generate new ideas, improve services, and advance technological innovation. But we thought that we wanted to add something more to this, this definition. So we came up with this lengthy definition that you see in peachy pink box here. And that's how we define Newcomer Knowledge Hub for all our purposes. So basically, as you can read on the slide, Newcomer Knowledge Hub is a virtual community of practitioners and academics designed to ultimately improve the services for and experiences of newcomers through sharing anonymized immigrant, refugee, and settlement-related data and information, solving problems through networking, co-creating solutions, knowledge, and practice research, supporting the development of sector capacity. So we firmly believe that Newcomer Knowledge Hub, the solutions that we will create, the information and knowledge that Newcomer Knowledge Hub will generate will be valuable not only to settlement agencies, but also to broader community serving agencies, researchers, educators, as I mentioned earlier, policymakers, funders, donors, investors, practitioners, and all those, all the stakeholders who invest their time, energy, effort, and themselves in improving client services, practices, and societal system. So with that in mind, we came up with the vision for Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So our vision for the Newcomer Knowledge Hub is to create new knowledge and use it to improve client services, practice, and societal system. Our goal is to build capacity for evidence-based services. Our goal is to create new knowledge, which is beneficial for all stakeholders. We come from the standpoint that integrating knowledge users in the knowledge translation will be valuable not only to newcomers, service provider organizations, but also to the broader community serving agencies. Now, very briefly, all activities in gateway system and in the all research and analysis activity under the umbrella of Newcomer Knowledge Hub, they are all informed by and aligned with social determinants of health. Now, going into a bit more detail here, there will be there are actually three major elements of activities under the umbrella of Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So as first, we think of ourselves as data aggregator, and we are working towards housing and maintaining a repository of aggregated and anonymized newcomer data from a variety of sources and link it to social determinants of health. Gateway's standardized questionnaire is based on social determinants of health framework, and all data is in Salesforce. Other potential data sources are Statistics Canada, data from partner agencies, Environics, Faculty of Social Work data, funders data, City of Calgary data. This is just to name a few. The aggregated data would be made available for free or for a fee to researchers, policymakers, partners, community agencies, corporate clients, etc. Another major purpose of Newcomer Knowledge Hub is thought leadership. So we are working towards generating new knowledge and wisdom that would elevate the best practices within the sector. We also plan to mobilize knowledge for targeted action for improved coordination of services and advocacy by sector leaders. We are doing this by organizing policy roundtables, we present at the conferences, and we are planning to do comparative research for benchmarking best practices. And last but not the least, we are also actively working towards professional development in the sector. So we are engaging sector leaders in co-creating solutions, building sector knowledge and networks, and socializing proven practices and leadership development through secondments, through hiring interns and creating academic laddering programs. We are collaborating with our knowledge and research partners, Faculty of Social Work, of University of Calgary for developing curricula for university level open and for credit courses for settlement practitioners. Our goal is to lead a national network for knowledge generation, innovation, scaling up, and advancement in newcomer and settlement service sector. Now here on this diagram, really very quickly, actually, as you can see on one end, there are practitioners, and on the other hand, you can say that there are policymakers or researchers. So we know from experience and we know from our research that there's a significant knowledge gap that exists between practitioners and policymakers or researchers. Each of these stakeholders work in their own space, and there are challenges in transferring knowledge from one end to the other. And that's the gap that we are trying to fill with by creating this Newcomer Knowledge Hub. And this is another diagram here. And through, this is basically the idea of Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So through Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we want to provide a constructive forum in which consensus may occur on a policy issue that affects newcomer settlement journeys. And how we plan to do that is, on one hand, you see we have University of Calgary, which is representative of academic researchers, and on the other hand, we have Immigrant Services Calgary, which is representative of practitioners. And we have this loop that goes through one end to the other, and in each step of this loop, we have folks who are stakeholders who will feed into this loop so that a more consistent information travels from one end to the other and come back to where it all started. So as we know that practitioners usually focus on their day-to-day work. They work on the front end, they interact with clients on an everyday basis, they hear their stories, and they learn from their experience and adapt their practices based on their experience. So their work is very micro focus. They work at a very micro level. So they focus more on bottom-up theories. On the other hand, researchers tend to focus more on meta theories. They work in their own space and they focus more on top-down theories. So with this Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we are trying to both researchers, academic researchers, and practitioners trying to come together and bringing policymakers into the loop to bridge that gap and create something meaningful that could enhance the quality of settlement experiences that newcomers may experience as they continue on their settlement journeys after arriving in Canada. Now, what makes Newcomer Knowledge Hub distinct? So we are very proud of a number of things that we can say makes Newcomer Knowledge Hub very distinct. We have an established partnership with the Faculty of Social Work, and that's why you see Dr. Waria and myself presenting this workshop together. So Dr. Waria is the face of University of Calgary, and I'm the face of Immigrant Services Calgary. We work very closely together on all Newcomer Knowledge Hub initiatives that feed into Gateway system. We are also very proud to say that it is a first-in-market concept. With this, we have this opportunity to lead in immigration and settlement sector. Why it is a first-in-market concept? It is because we have university researchers and practitioners working together on site at Immigrant Services Calgary to enhance the functioning of Gateway. So research teams are composed of, as I said, academic researchers and practitioners, and they all come together, brainstorm on things, and try to find solutions for better client services. We are also planning to work on developing an academic laddering program for credits or not for credits. So it can be for open courses, or it can be taken as for credit. But that's a vision that is in future. We are not currently working on it, but we do have that vision to work on that. We have comprehensive data sets because of the Gateway system, the way the Gateway is set up using Salesforce. We generate a lot of data, and which is very comprehensive, and it has the potential to change the sector. we are using the data that is generated, we are analyzing it and using it for feedback loops. We are also working on integrating the gateway data from various sources, like external to gateway or external to Immigrant Services Calgary from other sources, and bringing it all together in one database to aggregate it and again use it for sector enhancement. And then we are also doing or organizing policy roundtables, and I'll talk a little bit more about it shortly. We also have infrastructure in place. With that, what I mean is that we have dedicated office space for university researchers who can come here, sit with us, and work on various research and analysis initiatives. We are also looking at Newcomer Knowledge Hub as an opportunity to generate revenue. So as I said that we are thinking of ourselves as we are planning to set up, aggregate data sets and dynamic dashboards. We are also planning to produce customized research reports. We are planning to do podcast webinars, etc. So, with all of this, we are looking at it as an opportunity for a social enterprise, so that the system, the settlement system itself becomes more sustainable. Not that we are planning to become a for-profit organization, but it's just about looking into more sustainable solution for the service sector. And this is our governance chart for the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So on one hand, you see we have Immigrant Services Calgary, and on the other hand, we have Faculty of Social Work, University of Calgary. And as I said, that we both work very closely together, and we have created this partnership for the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. So in the second row, second boxes from the top, you see my role and Dr. Varia's role, who each report to their own. We have our own reporting line, but we both come together to work on Newcomer Knowledge Hub initiative. And of course, we do have a research advisory group who we seek advice from for each of our initiatives that take place in the Newcomer Knowledge Hub. At the bottom, we have all these stakeholders, so broader community organizations, service provider organizations, students and interns who want to build their careers in the settlement sector, interdisciplinary researchers from various institutions, not only from University of Calgary, but also from other universities and other disciplines other than social work. We have policymakers, we have funders, donors, investors, and of course, not to forget newcomers who are in the center of all of it. Now, to achieve the goals of the Newcomer Knowledge Hub, we are focusing on 5 major streams of activities. In the first stream, we have created Dynamic Collaborative. This is the name for a group of research and policy stakeholders. So it is basically a collaborative of research and policy stakeholders, but we call it Dynamic Collaborative, and I'll tell you why. So we are convening the first round of the Dynamic Collaborative with public, private, and academic stakeholders to identify priority problems to address. Basically, we prioritize sector issues, collaborative. For now, Dynamic Collaborative sessions are annual event, but our goal is to hold them twice a year. The Dynamic Collaborative will come together to examine empirical evidence to diagnose underlying issues, policy failures, and offer recommendations on sustainable policy innovations that would be financially, administratively, and politically feasible. So we are holding our first Dynamic Collaborative event in April, next month, in about 4 weeks from now. And the issue that we will address is how to standardize the process of obtaining client consent for utilizing their data for research and analysis. So as I said, that we are very strategic in calling this collaborative or dynamic collaborative, because the topic for this, the first round of the dynamic collaborative session is focused on the process of obtaining client consent. But the topic, as I said, it is dynamic, because in the next round we will identify another topic for the next round of policy roundtable. So, there are so many burning issues that we must address, and for each round we will be choosing a different topic, and based on the topic, the collaborative members will be identified. So it's not a static group that will always stay together and always come together and discuss the topics, but depending on the topics, the contributors to the dynamic collaborative will be identified, and we will assemble and brainstorm together in 2 days. We will hold these sessions will be 2 days long, and we will brainstorm on how to address some of the issues that are creating challenges for the sector. Under the second stream of activity, we aim to conduct longitudinal tracking of newcomers and sector data to understand newcomers' journey over time. We also aim to produce community research reports on newcomer service needs. And in these reports, we will be focusing on sector stories. And I'm very proud to announce that we will be releasing the inaugural issue of the community research report this summer. And then we will also publish manuscripts. We will present at conferences, just like this one. Then we will produce dynamic dashboards through which we are on our way to streamlining our data and automating the process of reporting. We are also working towards aggregating the data from different sources. So we, our partners and stakeholders, sector researchers, sector people, policymakers, and funders are able to utilize the data for decision making. We are producing and maintaining different dashboards for different stakeholder groups, for example, for management, for partners, for client services team, and then for other stakeholders such as academic and non-academic researchers, businesses and corporates, policymakers, funders, donors, etc. Some of these dashboards are already launched and functional, and some are underway, so they are work in progress. Some dynamic dashboards do not have any access fees, but some will have subscription fees. So again, going back to what I shared about the social enterprise model. And we are working on that fee structure, so we haven't yet finalized what that model would look like. The fourth activity is focused on process improvement and best practices for newcomer planning. For this, we review the process of creating gateway plans, observe gateway planning sessions, identify gaps and potential area of improvements, and make recommendations for improvements. We also look into KPIs and program evaluations. So for those who are not familiar with KPIs, KPIs are key performance indicators. So we plan to look into we are actually actively looking into key performance indicators and program evaluation and analyze that data for recommendations on process improvements. And the final activity here is focused on testing the efficacy of digital tools for service delivery in the overall experiences or settlement outcomes of the newcomers. And again, this is a direct research activity, and we are launching, or we have actually launched that project just last month. So to wrap up, our goal is to build capacity for evidence-based services. Our goal is to create new knowledge and use it to improve client services, practices, and the societal system. We come from the standpoint that integrating knowledge users in the knowledge translation will be valuable not only to newcomer service providers, but also to the broader community serving agencies, researchers, educators, policymakers, funders, donors, investors, and practitioners. We see Newcomer Knowledge Hub benefiting newcomers as the shared learning will lead to optimal program and service delivery. It will also lead to better newcomer support, enhanced newcomer settlement outcomes, and better newcomer experiences, and also their satisfaction with the services. The Newcomer Knowledge Hub will benefit partner agencies as the shared knowledge would help harmonize partners to tackle complex service delivery issues. The Newcomer Knowledge Hub will benefit the sector by identifying best practices, by moving away from data isolation and fragmentation, by enabling information and knowledge sharing. The planning efforts will be better informed. And when I say planning, I meant settlement planning. So all the efforts that go towards settlement planning, they will be better informed, accelerated, and evidence-based due to the timely access to data and information. For the broader Canadian community, this would mean that newcomers would have access to right services at the right time, which would enable them to establish themselves in the community and thrive more quickly. And last but not the least, Newcomer Knowledge Hub will greatly benefit students, interns, and community-based researchers as they will get hands-on experiences and opportunities to lead and implement various aspects of the Newcomer Knowledge Hub strategy. Students and interns will gain experience in collaborating with various stakeholders from a variety of backgrounds and sectors. They will get involved in work that bring together policy and research. They will work on data collection methodologies, tracking and reporting of data that is unique to the settlement sector. The overall experience will position the interns and practicum students better, for better career opportunities in future. So I would like to wrap up by saying that Newcomer Knowledge Hub is a platform that offers a link between different stakeholders to share knowledge and brainstorm ideas for process and service delivery improvements to strengthen the sector to ultimately enhance the experiences of newcomers to Canada. And that brings me to the end of this presentation. And now we are open to question and answers. And we have our contact information listed over here. Thank you.
Hi, viewers. So I'm just gonna take it over from here before other questions kind of like come up. On the chat, somebody requested for the link to Gateway programs, and I provided that. So I hope that should be sufficient in case you just want to read more about Gateway. Then there's a question about the K-Hub. Is it already in place? Is it running? What is the status? Do you want to take that?
Yes. So yes, Newcomer Knowledge Hub is already in place. That's the reason why you see me here and Dr. Varia together. So yes, it is always up and running. Some of the activities are actively ongoing. Some are work in progress, and some will take place in a few months from now, and we are preparing to launch those activities. So referring back to the 5 streams of activities, the policy roundtables or the dynamic collaborative, it is already the work on it has already been started. So we have engaged, we have recruited the participants for the first round of policy roundtable. The topic is decided, the first session is scheduled, and we will be holding that session next month. So that activity is already up and running. The longitudinal tracking of data, it requires some setup in terms of technology. So we have a dedicated position in our department. We have a database manager and we have a data analyst. We are soon going to hire a data architect who will solely work on setting up the technology platform. where we can get all the data from the Salesforce into our system so that we can start analyzing and complete doing the longitudinal tracking of that data. For now, we are still doing the longitudinal tracking, but it is limited only it is fairly limited in its scope as of now. We are looking at broadening the scope of longitudinal tracking. We are also already writing for our first publication, which will be released in few months from now. We have invited partners and a variety of contributors who are writing pieces for our first publication. The Service Delivery Improvement Project, we have received funding from IRCC, and that project has been launched. And we are actively, we have already started working on that project, so which is a direct research activity. So we will be gathering a lot of focus group interviews and survey data, and combine it with the administrative data to come up with some service delivery improvement recommendations. What am I missing here? I think there are a couple more.
Yeah, so Viva, there are quite a number of questions which have come up, and I like the fact that you've touched one on securing funding for this project. So we've also just managed to secure about slightly more than $1 million to work on some of the projects. But this is to work directly with the interns, and it's a range of interns from undergraduate all the way to postdoctoral fellows. And I think it's also about capacity building, it's about nurturing talent, but it's also about developing capacities just beyond Vibra and myself. And with these interns, we hope that they're going to be able to spread the skills that they've learned, but also the passion in migration within Canada and also beyond Canada. Viva has mentioned another source of funding that we've gotten, two other sources of funding that we've gotten for this project. And definitely we're consistently looking for money so that we can even grow the project bigger, because in as much as we've got the 5 clear streams, what we're finding is kind of like offshoots from the streams in terms of other gaps or other work that needs to be done. Viva, do you want to add on to that, the question on funding?
A very important piece. So if we have, unfortunately, we cannot see or know who are the participants in this session, but if there are possible funders on the call in this webinar, this is our invitation to you. So if you think that we are doing important work, and if you think that we are doing the work that is valuable for the sector, please connect with us, because we are really actively looking for funding. The other question that I would like to address here is about how newcomers be informed about the gateway programs upon arrival in Alberta. So we have a gateway booth at the airport, and I think it's called Immigrant Arrival Center. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not on the client services side, but I'm pretty sure it's called Immigrant Arrival Center. And it is at the international airport, and all newcomers who arrive in Alberta meet our outreach staff there, and they get information about the gateway program. So that's one of our strategy, which is we are finding it to be very effective. And of course, the variety of other promotional and advertising strategies that we do on a regular basis. Most of the clients that we receive come to us from referrals from our previous clients. So a large number of clients who receive services from us, they refer the gateway services in their networks, and that's how we receive the majority of clients. So yeah, that was.
Viva, can I just add to that? And I suppose the other bits that we cannot leave out is those partnerships that we have with the different agencies. And also when we think about the different offices that ISE has, so there's one in Calgary, there's one in Lethbridge, there's another one in Medicine Hat. So all this kind of like contributes towards the places where an individual can actually go in and make an inquiry about the services which are being offered, but also online. But that also speaks to not every newcomer might be able to have details about Gateway. And we encourage you on this call to be able to share those details as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so thank you for that, Ajwang. So currently we have, we receive about 40% newcomers that arrive in Alberta at our gateway service desk. Our goal is to bring that number up to 80%. So yeah, so there's a lot of room for improvement. So as we said in the prologue that we don't think and we don't say, we don't claim that we are perfect, but we are getting there. So we want to increase that number. Now I see another question here, and a participant has asked if we collaborate only with partners in Alberta or across Canada. So currently currently our partners are mostly, for the most part, they are in Calgary and Southern Alberta. But our goal is to go Alberta-wide and very soon Canada-wide. We do receive a lot of partnership invitations and calls from other parts of Canada, but we still have, we capacity-wise, we are not there yet. So we are just holding ourselves. So our focus right now is to perfect the system before we go all out. So especially when we present our work at nationwide, Canada-wide conferences, we do receive a lot of interest in partnerships from other parts of Canada. But unfortunately, we cannot accept those invitations at this point because of the capacity reasons.
But also we don't want to shut you out completely.
No.
Because there are
No.
possibilities of how we could work with you in a different way. So we welcome probably an email from you, and we could chat further on how we could work together on other issues, or how we could support you in the type of work that you're doing or what you want to do. So we're welcome to that. Thanks.
So we have another question. Do you envision collaborating with settlement organizations across Canada to broaden the Great Way program? Yes, as I said, that's the vision. That's the vision that we want to realize and achieve. But as I said that, and as Ajwang mentioned, that if you are a stakeholder and if you want to connect with us, our contact information is on the slide. We are not shutting anyone off, and we also want to learn and see the interest, engage the interest. But mostly for now, we are more focusing on perfecting the system and improving the system. And most of our partners are in the Southern Alberta region. We have received huge interest from Western Canada, so from Manitoba, from Saskatchewan, from British Columbia. There are organizations that want to collaborate with us, or become our partners on this. So yes, we do receive those interests regularly. So let's see, in near future, maybe in the next year when we come back, we will be, in a position to share more about developing partnerships across Canada.
Maybe can we take the first one, which is what challenges can settlement service providers face when accessing a standardized gateway system to seek individual newcomer stories? This, I wasn't certain what the participant was asking. Viva, are you clear on this question?
Yeah. Mm. I don't, yeah, no, the question is not clear to me, but I'll still make an attempt.
Okay.
Yeah, and apologies if I'm not, apologies in advance if if we are not understanding the question correctly. So probably the poster wants to know that, you know, with the through the referral system, when the newcomer shares their story with the gateway planner, and how those stories get transferred to the referring agency, or the agency where the referral is made. If that's what you are asking. So yeah, so we have a partner portal where the gateway planner completes what we call NARS, NAARS, which is the needs and assets assessment referral system. So the gateway planner does that, in which they hear newcomer stories and they fill out a form, and they save all the relevant data, which includes their experiences and stories as well. But not everything is transferred to another agency when the client is referred to another agency or program. So only the information that is relevant for receiving the service or program at another agency is passed on to a partner agency within the partner portal. All the information and data received from the client stays in the partner portal. It does not go out of the partner portal. So it stays locked in the partner portal. And the partner agencies or the other settlement service provider, and they can be, not necessarily only settlement service provider, they can be other services providers as well, like for instance, food bank or child support or other services. They also have their logins in the partner portal. So the stories or the information, relevant information for that particular program or service is transferred to the partner, and that's how they receive the information about the client. I just made an attempt. I'm sorry if I'm not addressing the question that you wanted to ask, but do you think, Ajbang, this is exactly what they were asking? We're just trying our best.
I don't know, but I think it was a good attempt, but I also just want to add that before the information will be getting to us as the knowledge hub, it will be anonymized information. So we will not know which client said what. So all those identifying details will be taken out before the information is actually shared with the knowledge hub. And I suppose this speaks to the issue of confidentiality, but also anonymity and privacy as well. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for adding that bit.
Okay, Viva, we've got one more question. Yeah. So the question reads, then maybe you could answer, then I could piggyback on your response. Thank you so much for an amazing workshop. So thank you. I love hearing about the Gateway program and the Newcomer Knowledge Hub, as they're such important initiatives. We do agree with you, definitely. Regarding the consultation of the broader community, what role will they play in the Newcomer Knowledge Hub's research and activities? Will they be involved in the research process or only consulted for their stories? How can non-immigrants learn about newcomer stories through the hub?
Yeah, so I think there are 3 questions here. I'll take the first question first. So what role the broader community play in the Newcomer Knowledge Hub's research and activities? So we have a research advisory group, which has members from City of Calgary. We have members from, so we have basically members from funding agencies, from civil society agencies, from, and not necessarily always from settlement agencies, but other civil society agencies as well, from academic researchers, or a variety of stakeholders. And we have monthly meetings with them. The advisory committee comes together. They are kind of, you can say that it's kind of a check and balance sort of situation. So we report back to them on activities that we complete and seek their advice and consult with any new project that we plan to launch in this initiative. So I think that is where the community plays a major role in Newcomer Knowledge Hub's research and activities. So for instance, we consulted them when we chose the topic for the policy roundtable. So we invited them, we asked them that what should we be discussing in the first round of policy roundtable. So they all came together and they discussed. Many of the or some of the advisors are immigrants, and some of them they do not have immigrant backgrounds. So that way we keep a balance of immigrant and non-immigrant perspective on the advisory committee as well. Will they be involved in the research process or only consulted for their stories? So Ajahn, would you like to take that question?
I think you've partially answered it in terms of
Answered that, yeah.
will they be involved in the research processes? So yes, they also keep Viva and I in check. So I think that is a structure which is important, or which we've realized is really important for us to have. But also some of the thinking processes that we have to do within the project. They've been very, very instrumental and very valuable in that. Maybe the next question is, how can non-immigrants learn about newcomer stories through the hub?
Yes, and that's so
is really
interesting
important.
because
Yeah.
keep an eye out for our first publication. So we will be releasing a publication, which will be a periodical and annual publication, at least for first few years until we really are established. And in future, we plan to release 2 publications or 2 issues a year. In this publication, we will be releasing updates on the research activities that we will be doing and in the hub, all the research initiatives that we will undertake within the hub. So updates about it, research reports, etc., will be released. Gateway updates, everything will be released. So yeah, if all goes as planned, which we are very positive about, the first issue will be released in July this year. And it will be an online and free issue. So anyone who can access our Immigrant Services Calgary's website should be able to have access to that issue. And we will widely circulate information about it through social media channels of University of Calgary and Immigrant Services Calgary.
Yeah, and I just want to extend an invite as well as a non-immigrant, if you could potentially see a role that you could play or how you could support us, we would welcome that you also get in touch with us. But this is a really good question, because the kind of work that we do is, maybe it might come across as if it's focused on newcomers, but there's potential of how non-newcomers could also contribute to some of these processes and spread the work that we do around. So thank you so much for that question. Yeah.
wevalue.ca. So I don't know much about this initiative, but I think this is, are you referring to YMCA of Southwestern Ontario? If yes, then they have partnered with us on Workstream 5. If you recall, a little while ago, I talked about service delivery improvement work stream for which we have received funding from IRCC. And they are one of our partners on that project. If this is that, but I'm not familiar with wevalue.ca.
We'll check it out. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
To bring it to our attention as well. Yeah. Well, I think we've answered all questions and the normal questions which are coming up. So Yeah, we just want to say thank you so much for spending this morning with us, afternoon for some people. We really do appreciate your time, your questions, and your input into the kind of work that we do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. And continue spreading the word about Newcomer Knowledge Hub and Gateway in your networks. We hope to receive your connections, your informations, your comments, your suggestions to advance this work forward. And our email is on the slide. Thank you so much.